students, let's proceed looking on the properties of a protein. And we have already seen that the proteins, they are basic. They provide a property which is the zeta ion, or they exist as a dipole nature. So we have seen that it exists in that situation as in the acidic position of the amino acid tend to lose hydrogen. So in the next part of the in the next part of the amino acid, which is in the amino group, they tend to accept that loosely hydrogen from the amino acid. So kwenye sehemu moja as a result, now in the other side become more negatively, while in the next part it become highly or positively. So now tukasema hivi, this pH at the amino acid are electrically neutral is termed as isoelectric point. Kwa maana kwamba ile pH ambayo ina exist as kwenye ile zeta ion ndiyo ambayo tunaita isoelectric point. That is, each amino acid has its own pH value, and at which it exists in its neutral zeta ion form. So that point, it is known as the isoelectric point. So in the alkaline medium, when the pH of the isoelectric point increases, the amino acid tend to dissociate, releasing hydrogen ion. So the amino acid thus become negatively charged. Kwa hiyo sasa ikiwa kwenye alkaline medium, so ile pH ya isoelectric point inaongezeka. Ikiongezeka, hilo amino acid ina dissociate. Ikisha dissociate ndipo ambapo ina release ile hydrogen. So the amino acid now become more negatively charged. And thereby in acidic media, that was in the basic media. In acidic media, when the pH is lowered, the carbon group tend to accept the hydrogen ions and whole structure becoming positively charged. So inakuwa ni vice versa kwenye ile acidic medium ya zeta ion na ile basic medium ya zeta ion. So now let's see the structure. The structure of the zeta ions. The structure of a zeta ions. So tumesema hii protein inaweza ikaexist in a neutral form. That is the zeta ion, or we can call it as the dipole ion. Kwa sababu gani tunaita dipole? Because there is a presence of two negative or oppositely charged. That is positive charge and the negatively charged. Remember here we have seen that in order for the formation of the structure, hapa tunatakiwa kuwe na hydrogen na hapa panatakiwa kuwe na hydrogen mbili. Kwa hiyo hapa hydrogen zipo in excess, na huku kunahitajika kuwe na nini? Kuwa na negative. Sasa tukiwa kwenye an ion that is high pH, meaning that is a basic condition, kwa maana kwamba ile hydrogen itabi released or itabi attracted kwenda kwenye the next part of the hydrogen, and thereby it tend to lose the presence of the hydrogen which is found within this structure. Unaweza ukaona, lakini kwenye acidic media where there is a presence of low pH is whereby you can find this hydrogen or this side of carboxyl group tend to accept the presence of hydrogen. That is in the acidic media. Lakini huku kwenye basic media, this hydrogen atom inatoka kwenye carboxyl group inapotea, inaenda kwenye ile amino group. So now you can see this is due to the presence of basic, and this is due to the presence of the acidic medium. So that is how the zeta ion or the zeta structure is formed. Ikiwa tu acidic inakuwaje, as I have explained, and ikiwa kwenye basic condition inakuwaje. So let's see another property of the protein, and that is the protein, it has a chirality structure or a chirality nature. That is, most amino acids are chiral, meaning they can exist in two mirror image forms, that is L and D isomers. So the L form is predominantly found in the proteins. So tunasema kwamba ile structure ya protein inaweza ikaexist in chirality nature. Chirality nature tunasema kwamba they are mirror image of one another, kwa maana kwamba ukichukua structure moja ya amino acid ukaweka mirror between it, the structure which you're going to see in the mirror, it is the same to that structure which is found in its opposite position. So that is the chirality nature. Sasa kuna different kind of chirality which exist in different kind of molecule. Kuna hii L and D isomer. Sasa hii protein tunasema kwamba yenyewe ina exist kwenye L form, which is predominantly found in the protein. So the chirality nature or the isomer of a protein which can exist in chirality nature, it is the L form isomer, which is very dominant, that is predominantly found in the protein. So that is a feature or the characteristics of the protein. But also functionality, it has this structure, or it has also this property. That is, protein, that is amino acid, play a various role in biological process beyond protein synthesis, including acting as a precursor for neurotransmitter hormones and other biomolecules. So inafanya kazi pia kwa maana kwamba zile amino acids zinazotengeneza protein, simply you can say that it has different biological role beyond that the role of protein synthesis. Kwa maana kwamba hii protein inaweza ika-act as a precursor for neurotransmitter. Inatengeneza different kind of neurotransmitter, that is neuroadrenaline, okay? Na ile the next part of the neuroadrenaline, that is the neurotransmitter. But also not only neurotransmitters but also hormones. Also tuna hormones ambazo zinatengenezwa na hizi proteins. Tutaenda kuangalia kwenye classification of protein. So utaenda kuona hizo hormone and the other biomolecules. We're going also discuss about this in a broader way. So now you can see these proteins, they have a lot of the property. Here I've been writing for you 5 properties of the the 5 properties of protein. These properties, they are very essential for you to understand, kwa sababu ukielewa huko mbele kwenye structure au kwenye classification of protein, it will be easy for you now to understand it easily. So my student, for that you can see tumediscuss kuhusu zile zwitter ions, tumediscuss the chirality nature of a protein, tumediscuss a lot of things concerning about the properties of a lipid, amphoteric nature of a lipid, and thus it is a question that might come into your exam. Kwa maana kwamba explain why protein they are amphoteric in nature. So you're going to refer on the structure of the lipid. The structure of the protein, sorry. You're going to refer on the structure of protein, then you will answer the question effectively. So my student, by saying so, this marks the end of our today's session. So thank you for following us at Educare TZ, and bye-bye. Have a nice moment.